What job position is 100% overvalued and underpaid? Story 1. Former college employee here. It's worse than that. I mean, even ignoring the fact that they're taking tuition money from students who don't understand how loans work most of the time, many freshmen are lacking basic skills necessary for college success, such as study skills, critical thinking and analysis, and even formal writing skills, which should be an easy fix since most higher ed institutions offer tutoring and professors offer office hours, right? Wrong. Funding is getting cut, which limits programs like tutoring. More and more colleges are opting to hire adjunct professors, who often teach at multiple colleges in order to pay their bills. So they have further limited office hours, since they're literally driving across town to teach somewhere else after they finish teaching. Add on top of that the issue of having employees with limited training and often little knowledge of transfer pathways and existing articulation agreements with other schools asked to advise students on which classes to take, and you end up with students who are hemorrhaging loan money because they're failing classes they have to retake, taking classes they don't even need due to poor advising, or because they don't have the support needed in order to be successful. It's maddening, immoral, and awful. How does this happen, though? Why do universities hire so many admins, and why do they not do anything to cut them while there are budget cuts? I know they want to make more money, and an easy way to do that is to cut useless costs. I know it's a huge problem, but I don't understand the mechanism behind it. Because the system is run by administrators. They see the importance of administration and not the importance of good teaching and research. Yep, same reason Congress never makes any new restrictions on their own power. We've investigated ourselves and determined there were no problems or conflicts of interest. In fact, the investigation uncovered we're actually due for another raise. My alma mater fired some 50 professors at the start of the pandemic, despite having a 60% to 40% ratio of administrators to teachers. A year later, they'd burned $50,000 on a series of tacky posters that everyone on campus hated. Administrative bloat is ruining universities. Good programs canceled so we could have a third vice president of diversity and inclusion. Just utterly unreal. For what it's worth, at the college I work at, about half of the tenured professors in my department, I'm adjunct, jumped ship as soon as the pandemic hit. I initially thought it was because they were giving way to allow us younger teachers to keep their jobs/classes in case budget cuts or classes got cut. Then someone pointed out to me that your retirement is partially calculated based on the pay the last 5 years or so they worked. They were worried we'd see furloughs or class loads getting cut in half, so they jumped ship in order to not have a huge hole in their retirement calculations. I mean, I get it, but also, frack our administration. The bloat is real. We built a brand new building on campus, and half the office space went to new administration instead of just faculty, because they've already filled up all the other office space. I don't think anyone is altruistic enough in a pandemic to quit their jobs to allow the next generation to move up. The president of the university I work for makes over $500,000 a year, plus bonuses. Anytime we've hosted an event he's supposed to show up to, we get a last-minute email from his assistant saying something came up and he can't make it. This university also refuses to pay staff and graduate students more because they claim it's impossible due to the budget not being high enough. It's wild how common this is, too. I'm willing to bet anyone who works for a university reads this as thinking, do they work at the same university as me? It's fracking ludicrous. How do we let that happen? I've worked for 2 universities previously and work for a third now, and you are absolutely correct. This could be said about any of them. We don't have the budget to give 50 people making under $35,000 a year a 3% raise. But we do have enough in the budget to give 5 people making $200,000 plus a 3% raise. Crazy how that works out. It's too bad that only I thought that only companies that had to deal with investors dealt with this kind of stuff. But how are these people, forget the money that they're making as their standard salary, how are they making bonuses if they're making all these bad decisions and kids aren't getting the education they need? Is there going to be a reckoning for all of this? Or are we just going to suffer the consequences of badly educated people? Story 2. Hospital CEOs, and actually almost all hospital upper management. There are so many layers of management that many of them barely step foot into a healthcare facility ever, let alone ever speak to a patient. Yet all of them make 6, 7, 8-figure salaries plus mega bonuses. My hospital network CEO makes $11 million salary, not including bonuses, which bothers me, but bothers me more are all the board members and SMEG directly under him making nearly as much. It's hundreds of millions of wasted money paid to the people trying to bilk staff out of good pay and bilking patients into paying big bills. I also work for a healthcare organization, and our CEO also makes $11 million annually. One of many, as you said. In December, we had a meeting about the financial results, and leadership discussed how the healthcare industry is in trouble, how our salaries and wages are our biggest problem. This devolved into a tangent of essentially nobody wants to work and we can't keep nurses on staff. I wonder why. Therefore, we're relying on costly temp help, and it's really doing us in. Listening to some C-suite finance skin suit who makes a 7-figure salary, edit to add, this was not the CEO. I'm aware 11 million is 8 figures. Explain to us that greedy nurses are totally the problem and we'll have to look hard at our expenses this year. AKA probably more layoffs. It was a sickening experience I just haven't been able to shake. I'm a physician, currently in residency. The CEO of our huge hospital system was doing his rounds in the pre-op area in his little suit saying hi to people. He picks up a surgical marking pen and says, "What's this for?" What a crock of smeg. Also a resident. We haven't had a working fridge in the resident lounge for 4+ months. Escalated it to the CEO, who replied that fridges are difficult to come by and on back order for another several months. People working 26-hour shifts have nowhere to put their food. I was working at an urgent care clinic. During the Christmas season one year, I dropped by the nearest department store and bought a discount drip coffee maker to replace the toxic dog smeg one on the counter. Smuggled it into an upper cabinet. Local doc had done the same the previous year with a microwave that had broken. It was the easiest way to deal with the stingy biomed department when they dragged their feet on kitchen appliances. Anyway, several months later, it disappeared, replaced by a more expensive-looking multifunction model that was broken within a year. Sadly, I wasn't able to locate my discount model, sadly. Glad I was bringing my own at that point. I wonder if in their world where Tylenol is like $600 a pill, a working fridge would have to be, what, $10 million? Holy hell, that's painful to witness. I once had a director of radiology tell me we could get 60 MRIs done a day because it only takes 2 or 3 minutes. I wanted to slit my wrists immediately after that. The issue is that they believe and they build plans and external expectations on that crock of smeg, and it puts unreasonable pressure on the department. People outside of medicine have no idea how anything works, and they will 100% believe anyone that they think has more knowledge than them. A cooperative, non-hesitant adult knee MRI can take 20 minutes. Even a CT process is 10 minutes. A bit of a tangent, but see Elizabeth Holmes versus Investors. Any hematologist or biostatistician could have told you that it's statistically improbable to quantify disease from a drop of blood. But she sounded smart and was charismatic, and so the money flowed. I was trying to remember the Theranos thing. Didn't she get sentenced? I'm trying to remember that. And also, we're seeing a thread compared with the first story. It just seems like the people in the CEOs and the upper management positions are the ones that definitely seem to be overpaid, while everyone else is suffering all these consequences. Story 3. One night, I babysat 3 kids for about 2 hours or so. The kids went to bed when I got there, and the parents had left dinner out for me. So all I did was eat their food and watch their TV and pet their dogs. When they got home, the mom paid me $100. I told her that was way too much. She slurred, "Don't worry about it. I'm drunk." And then I noticed her fly was down. So that was the most overpaid job ever. One of the smartest moves you can make as a parent is treat those who take care of your children incredibly well. I always overpay my sitters. They're worth every penny with the peace of mind they give me. So what I'm hearing is, pay teachers better. You're not being paid for the night everything goes well. You're being paid for the nightmare night. 100%. Have paid a well-qualified babysitter to basically sit on our couch chilling while a 1-year-old slept, knowing if everything went awry, there was a trusted person there. To you, it's overpay. To them, it's a chance to get the frack away from their kids and have spicy time. It's marriage insurance. Trust me, for a break away from the kids and not having to think about them, it was definitely worth it to the parents. I used to get paid twice. Parents would pay me before they went out because they knew they would come home drunk and didn't want to forget. But when they would come back, indeed drunk, and insist they pay me again. That reminds me of one time my friend was talking to this one girl, but he still lived with his parents, but he told her that he lived together. I think that's wrong. He texted me and said something like, "Hey, can I borrow a room in your house for like 2 hours? This girl wants to hang out and I told her we live together." I said, "Yeah, sure, I don't care." So I set up one of the rooms I wasn't using with some cheap little futon I had in the garage, threw a TV on a foldable table, and left to go play Pokemon Go at a park. He texted me after a couple of hours and said, "Hey, thanks. I left some money on that table, and when she left, I put those sheets in the washer and put the futon back in the garage." He left $80 on the table, he got laid, and did a part of my laundry. Easiest money I've ever made. This one looks to be the outlier. What sounds like it's being overpaid sounds like it's very valuable service. Something that the parents value a lot, and I think if the people that are doing the service don't feel like they're getting overpaid, I don't think that counts. I think the people that are paying really believe the worth of what they're paying for what they're getting. Some free time away from the kids and some peace of mind. Story 4. My uncle was a commercial airline pilot. He described his job as vastly overpaid in normal circumstances and vastly underpaid in emergency situations. Firefighters and paramedics are in the same boat. $60 to $80K a year in some places to pick up old people off the floor, but only $60 to $80K to manage the pulseless and unaliving child at 3 a.m. Yeah, I feel this. I'm a rural medic, and some days I'm paid a mint to do about an hour of maintenance work and then putter away on personal projects or work out and nap. And other times, I do things most sane people wouldn't do for love or money for 14+ hours until my employer is legally obligated to let me rest for 8 hours. Yeah, I'm a rural medic as well, and I have night shifts where me and my coworkers just take turns sleeping because we don't do anything for 10 hours of our 12-hour shift. On the other hand, I've seen car accidents that would haunt most people for a lifetime, and I had to deal with plenty of drunk idiots throwing up all over the ambulance. My father is in a special mountain rescue paramedic unit, and his salary is within that range. Most days it's picking up old people, but then sometimes he has to summit a mountain and risk decapitation from a stretcher as the helicopter it's attached to can't stabilize in a high alpine environment and crashes and tumbles down a glacier. Wildland firefighter here. I wish we even made that much. It's not uncommon to work 120-hour weeks during the summer. You'll often not get to go home for a month or more. My longest stint away from home has been 62 consecutive days. I've had to carry unalive coworkers off of mountains because we couldn't declare them as deceased until a paramedic checked them. I've had to recover human corpses out of burnt cars. Overall, I love my job and helping people, but the fact that I make $30K a year feels pretty underwhelming for the amount of smeg I deal with. Same for every other wildland firefighter out there. Edit. I live in this world, so I forget people don't have context. Most wildland firefighters make minimum wage. We work 100 to 120 hours a week during the peak of the season, around 3 months depending on your region. Then probably average 200-hour months for another 4 months of the year. Then we typically have 4 or 5 months off with intermittent projects and controlled burning work. So yes, to the people who commented it, without that context, $30K a year seems deceptive, but that wasn't my intention. I was more so trying to speak to the type of work firefighters are subjected to in relation to pay, not saying that we're all illegally underpaid. Story 5. Member of the International Olympic Committee, IOC. They've had a lengthy history of excessive demands. $4 million spent on entertainment in Nagano, traffic lanes dedicated to IOC members during the games, etc. They make very few decisions, all of which are politically motivated. They travel extensively and are paid well for it. Although technically a volunteer, the IOC president receives a yearly allowance of $251,000 and lives rent-free in a 5-star hotel and spa in Switzerland. I wouldn't mind that job. How do I apply? Do they teach corruption or a job requirement? You have to bribe your way in, so 10+ years of corruption and bribery is a minimum requirement. Am I able to bribe with taxpayer money? Don't have much of my own. What is this, your first time doing coke with a local judge? Yes, the tax money. My personal gripe, apart from all the corruption, is how staunchly the IOC denies the rest of humanity the use of the word Olympic in regards to any game or competition. I don't have an issue with companies protecting a trademark they invented. I get why Lego doesn't want other people calling plastic blocks Lego, but Olympics as a word and concept existed long before the IOC were around, and they just decided one day that they had exclusive rights to it, and for some reason the people responsible for that sort of thing agreed.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 6. If someone else is regional VP, they are either drowning in responsibilities working 70 hours a week, or they have absolutely nothing to do other than collecting a check. I would expand this, personally. Call it the Michael Scott theorem. In any company of sufficient size, there is at least one layer of management that is completely useless, but kept around as a dumping ground for people who earned a promotion but really should have stuck to non-management work, nepotism hires, and people who definitely shouldn't have been hired, but are kept around so the person who recommended or approved hiring them doesn't get embarrassed. My lifelong best friend just got a regional VP job a month ago, and he's been trying to figure out what the hell he's supposed to be doing because thus far his duties encompass replying to or directing emails between facilities in his region. It's literally a job he could do with 1.5 hours of real, actual work per day, and the company is thrilled with his work thus far. I told him that I personally think he lucked into the perfect job, at least if you're going to work for someone else. I hope he's well paid. That sounds boring, but super easy. I'm the first kind of regional VP. I've been in this role for a year, with the company for a decade. I still have no idea what to do and have no time to do it. One of my favorite bits from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams was all about this one world that created these wild stories of impending doom coming to the planet and using that as an excuse to send away all the middle managers and all these useless administrative people so they could get the big thinkers and the people who do the actual work to just go along and do things without impediment. And I really wish we could come up with something like that now. It just, with all this stuff getting described to us, would be cool. Story 7. I still don't know what big firm consultants do. I do consulting. It's just either outsourced office work or creating fluffy PowerPoints to give executives an excuse to authorize spending. It's not a bad gig. Sometimes it's to tell executives to do what their internal folks already told them to do but the execs don't trust their own people. This is really it, in my honest opinion. My dad was a consultant for years. Said his approach was always the same, going to the different departments. Make it clear he wasn't there to cut jobs. He wanted to listen to their insights and communicate to the execs what they felt in a way the execs would respond to. He did always say that the people working the jobs made the company the money and tended to have good insights into what some of the struggles were inside the company, but didn't know how to communicate it in an effective way. Now, the leadership actually responding to it and listening was another story. The second he left, they sacked 20% and said the consultant told them to. Oh, true. But he stressed the importance of sharing his reports and findings with the department heads and managers who were engaged. Got him a good bit of business from those people when they moved on to different companies and rose in the ranks. Story 8. Ferrari strategist. You'd think out of pure dumb luck they'd eventually make a correct call, right? You'd be wrong. It's almost uncanny. There's the standard strategy and the risky one, and then there's whatever the frack Ferrari is doing. They pretend they want to do the risky one, panic and revert to the safer one, and lose the advantages of both. When I watch professional sports and someone is doing bad, I understand that despite the fact that they're doing bad, I probably couldn't do better. Yeah, that NBA coach is having a horrible night, but at the end of the day, he's still an NBA coach, and I'm some guy on the couch watching the game. Ferrari strategist is the only job in that category that I genuinely think I could do at a higher level than the people currently there. Box now, stay out, stay out. Pretty sure my granny could pull off a better strategy than Ferrari, and she's been gone 20 years. We're checking. Story 9. Generally, U.S. government contractor positions require high security clearances. Entry-level pay isn't that high, but once you're cleared, other contractors will offer bigger bucks because you can get cleared with them quickly. Jump from one to another, wait 2 years, do it again, lather, rinse, repeat. I have a very close friend that falls into this category. He literally sits at a desk overlooking a beautiful lake and once a month drives 60 miles to visually inspect a dam. Just like drive to it and look at it. He always jokes, if you want to see your tax dollars wasted, come visit me at work. His previous job? Road construction. Literally getting paid to be the fall guy. I wonder how many of those positions are filled with people that care about the maintenance and integrity of whatever it is they're inspecting. Like what kind of spectrum there would be. Obviously, you have the two ends of lazy and extreme care, but I'd like to see where the average is. Story 10. I'm here for a potential change of career. So what have we got so far, guys? If you want to rake in an insane amount of money, then retire super early. You could do deep sea welding, especially on oil platforms and whatnot. You can make $80K a month, but there's a pretty good chance you'll pass away. These seem mutually exclusive, depending on your definition of retirement, either mutually exclusive or tautologous. I wonder if anyone else clicked on this looking for job ideas. Story 11. President of FIFA. Today, I feel gay. I feel disabled. I feel like a migrant worker. And I'm new in town. What's 2 other things about you? He said that? Yeah, in the opening of the Qatar World Cup last year. Hell, and here I was trying to remember which episode of The Office that quote was from. How do we go about getting parody and satire added to the endangered species list? We mark The Onion as a credible news source. Story 12. Vivek Garipalli, Clover Health, $389.6 million. George Meekin, Bright Health, $180.8 million. Mario Schlosser, Oscar Health, $60.8 million. John Cow, Alignment Healthcare, $46 million. Vivek Garipalli, Clover Health, $389.6 million. CLOV stock trading $1.20 a share, down 88.19% on the all-time chart. $400 million to drive a fracking company into the ground? Where do I sign up? Smeg, I'll do it for $50 million. See, you even get a discount. Story 13. My mom, from whom I'm estranged, works as the vice president of reward at an international company. She basically arranges contracts so millionaires can get more money and get paid £189 a year for it, even though she thinks it's ridiculous. Gosh, even the title of that job. Vice President of Reward. Sounds made up, like something you'd give a Nepo baby to keep them busy. Story 14. My IT director. He's never around, automates his email, and he has his own company. So many IT directors are not techs by any stretch, but just management that filled a void. They end up hiring MSPs to do the work. They pretty much balance the budget and improve requests for permission or product purchases. Story 15. Gillette engineers. They took 5 years to go from 3 blades to 4, and they got the idea from reading The Onion. Story 16. About 2/3 of the upper-level admins at the university I work for. I am the payroll person at a state university, and I completely agree with this. The people in upper management aren't even in union-protected jobs who, in theory, should be the first ones gone when we need to settle the budget problems we have. Instead, they were the only ones who got raises during COVID. Don't forget the popular, let's make everyone adjunct professors, take the money we save, and give ourselves raises. Oh, also, let's get rid of staff and replace them with terrible management software so we can give ourselves consultancy jobs from the institution to draw additional salary. How do they pay for it? Lower standards and let ever more unqualified students in.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.